Climate Watch, a new United Nations report warns the impacts of climate change are increasing and inevitable.
Well, scientists say climate change is getting worse and there could be serious consequences for our planet in the next 20 years.
It would likely mean more erratic weather, dangerous heat waves, rising sea levels.
Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about global warming. As people know, the world is getting hotter and hotter, and that's due to us humans burning fossil fuel. And everyone that speculates around this and against this argument is usually seen as dumb or just ignorant.
Yeah, and I mean, global warming has become such a common fact that it's almost taboo to speak about it, especially in Sweden, where everything one speaks about has to be very politically correct. And I mean, to question global warming, man, that's like questioning Stalin himself. It's simply not allowed.
Okay guys, if you look at the research done by the best climate scientists in the world, 97% of them say that the world is warming. The real question is why?
Yeah, why is it warming? And I mean, the Earth has been warming and cooling for millions of years, since life started here on Earth. So you might wonder, what is so special about this warming, and is it real as bad as they say?
Is it?
I don't know, son.
Okay, so global warming has been officially known for 70 years now, and started when the first countries developed into industrialization, during the middle of the 19th century. So when climate scientists are trying to prove that humans are in fact the cause of global warming, they almost always show statistics and charts starting from 1850 and ending at present.
Because 1850 was when humans started to release carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. The thing that they don't show you and deliberately hide from the public is that the period known as the medieval warm period, just a couple of hundred years earlier, actually was a lot warmer than present temperature. And we did not have any carbon dioxide releases back then, so they can't blame that on humans. Another thing that they chose not to add to these statistical charts is that after the medieval warm period, our planet went into a period called the Little Ice Age. It lasted between around 1300 to 1850 and was the coolest period on our planet for the last 12,000 years, since the last ice age.
The Little Ice Age was a hard period. In Sweden, more than half of the population left for America because they were starving. The winters were brutal in Europe with snow everywhere. Now, very conveniently, at the same time as we left the Little Ice Age in 1850, the Industrial Revolution began.
Therefore, all measures around that time would have started at a cool period and gradually rising as we were leaving the Little Ice Age. So the real reason why temperatures started to rise when the Industrial Revolution began is because of Earth's natural cycles, not because we started to burn fossil fuels. Had fossil fuels been the reason, we would not see a rise in temperature for another 50 years at least, after the Industrial Revolution began, because it takes time for the effects to kick in.
The science is clear on global warming. Yes, the temperatures are rising and have since we left the Little Ice Age. But global warming has become more of a political agenda than some real science. That's because politicians and people that get publicity pick and choose very carefully which facts to show. If the fact doesn't fit the theory of human causing the global warming, they don't show it.
And that's not real science. What they also don't tell you is that the greenhouse effect keeping the warmth on Earth is 98% caused by clouds and water vapor. The rest 2% is carbon dioxide and other gases. And human released carbon dioxide is even less than 1% of the force that makes up the greenhouse effect. It's really nothing. But it's really easy to play around with numbers and show only small pieces of the big picture, like charts when they show you carbon dioxide emissions and how they've been rising so much lately. Yes, they have, but it's out of context since carbon dioxide is nothing compared to water vapor and clouds. So if you look at a guy like Al Gore, for example, he's very dedicated to the theory that humans cause all global warming. He has predicted several times that all ice should be gone by this and that date and so on. He's clearly exaggerating, and as many others, pick out the small parts of science that fit him best. But why does he do it?
10 years later and say, what happened to that? I don't know if you remember, Gore also told us we could go fossil fuel. The US could be fossil fuel free in its electricity by now. And of course, that didn't happen either. There's so much to be gained by making these radical headlines. And unfortunately, panicking people.
Gain how?
Well, gain for, you get a lot of attention. Everybody says, oh my God.
Go on a speaking circuit.
This guy has a point. I mean, you definitely get a lot of attention when you're talking about something that's supposed to affect the entire globe in a negative way. The problem is now that the facts that scientists have made public is being manipulated by politicians and therefore easily fooling most people that are listening. They show you what they want you to see, and no one really has the time or energy to search up alternative information that hasn't been manipulated or changed by themselves. That's why we get strikes and people like Greta Thurnberg blowing it all up out of proportion.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
We've destroyed your future? Okay, how? Is it really that bad for a girl who lives in a cold place like Sweden to get a little warmer temperatures? I'm sorry, Greta, but you obviously don't know what you're talking about. There's been 5 mass extinction events the last 500 million years, where the smallest amount of species lost was 70% out of all on Earth. Not even close to that many species died out even 12,800 years ago. And that was still a global cataclysm. That was way worse than we humans ever could accomplish, even with a nuclear war. Now, we're not saying that humans haven't done anything to change the environment we're living in. We are throwing out plastic and trash into our oceans, cutting down a lot of our beautiful forests and so on. Remember that we're only talking about global warming. We're saying that it is really exaggerated. I mean, 12,800 years ago, the average temperature on Earth was raised by almost 15 degrees Celsius in less than a decade. Was that because we let out too much carbon dioxide? No, of course not. Natural and extraterrestrial events like an asteroid impact should get a lot more attention than humans letting out a little carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, since it's a much bigger problem. And still you see politicians, media, people all around the world talking about a 1.5 degrees Celsius raise in temperature as something absolutely catastrophic. It's a beginning of a mass extinction, as Greta said. How can there be a mass extinction when the event 12,800 years ago that warmed Earth by 15 degrees Celsius in less than a decade, 10 years, isn't even considered a mass extinction? Crazy.
You've probably heard about nation-making agreements about how we need to keep the temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius before the consequences will be irreversible.
What could happen if global temperatures rise by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit?
They talk about this 1.5 degrees Celsius change like it's something huge. Just 1,000 years ago, it was even warmer than that.
We just also quickly wanted to add that it seems like many people today have some sort of subconscious notion that the only temperature that's good for our planet is the temperature that is right now. Change is bad, period. I mean, that's it. But I'm sorry, but that's not the case. Things will always change on this planet, whether we like it or not. And change is actually the only reason why organisms evolve.
As you can see, guys, we're getting totally fooled by the government, or it's either that or they're too dumb to understand that global warming is fake. So what's your thought about it?
I mean, if they would fake it, I mean, if it would be some kind of back thought to global warming, like the government would be faking global warming, one of the reasons why could be like, if you have a problem that they, just made up, then they would have an excuse to sort of control all the nation's energy production, because global warming affects the entire Earth. So they would have an excuse to make some sort of intelligence, global power system. We'll let you look at a video by David Icke. He talks about this.
Because it dictates every area of human life, including education, to save the planet. And this is problem, reaction, solution.
Okay, guys, so that's pretty much it for today. Leave a comment and tell us what you think if you want to see more of this, because we have a lot more to say, but right now we don't really have the energy to make a longer video, but we hope you learned something and became a bit wiser today.
Yeah, so thanks for watching the video, and see you in the next video. Bye bye, subscribe, don't forget to subscribe.